All right, so this is the evolution of the process here. Paul got a lathe and made some seam rippers, and he's testing out a couple of things. And so this one is the kind that would have like a double end stiletto and seam ripper. Let me grab the seam ripper out of this one because what happened is I let it roll off the table, broke this part. That was not a fault of the tool, but it's super cool, and you could put a seam ripper on one side and the stiletto on the other. So I like this a lot. And he even added these little grippy ridges here, so when you're using the tool you have something to kind of grip with. Also, it's a fun textural thing. It just feels good. I mean, it feels really good. So this is just natural wood. It's not stained or anything, and it's sealed with a clear finish that's kind of glossy, but it's not like super shiny and slippery. It's actually, you can feel the wood, you can feel the grain, which I really like. So if you're into wood, it's just super cool. So this was the first one he made. Super fun, super nice. And of course I broke the seam ripper. So he's got another one of the doodads that fits in this little hole, because there's a spring, there's a metal tube and a spring in there that allow the seam ripper to stay in and not fall out. So it's kind of secure in there, so it's not gonna fall out. Okay, so that one is that one. That's the first one. Okay, the second one he did, well, I mean, he did some other doodads out there, but these are the ones that are like good. So this one is made out of a resin blank, and this is really fun. So the resin, acrylic resin, was a little bit harder to turn. He said this actually took him a little bit longer than the wood ones, which I thought was funny, because originally I was super excited because I love playing with resin, and I thought, ooh, it'd be really fun to make these in like some baby moon colors, like white with pink and green, and maybe kind of get, you know, even some baby moon. I was trying to figure out how I could float a little baby moon logo in there that would show up when you turned it, and removed the doodad. I'm not sure if that is going to work, but it might. We're not done testing things yet. But this one is also a double-ended one with the seam ripper on one side and the stiletto on the, oh, no. This is one that has a little seam ripper. Okay, see, that is tiny. It's a surprise. I don't even know what I got here. And this is a big seam ripper. Okay, so you have two sizes of seam rippers. And these seam rippers are really cool because they're super high quality. They're a Japanese company that makes them, and so they're very sharp and very precise. And so they're not like the little janky ones. I mean, they're just really lovely and super shiny, which I think is super fun. Shiny and glossy, like not shiny and like blingy, although bling would be cool too, but these aren't blingy. Anyway, this is really cool. This one's gorgeous and perfect. Then he used another piece of wood, and I think this is like pine. I'm not really sure. I'd have to ask him, so he's gonna have to tell me what kind of wood these are. But this one, the ridges are a little bit deeper, so they're deep on this resin one, but they're not. See how the, oh, this first one he made, the ridges were very thin. This one is actually like a lot better. And so this one has the double-ended with the stiletto on one end and the seam ripper on the other. Okay, so these, the parts all come in like a little kit, and then you pick your own wood and you do that part. So this one feels so nice because these ridges are really nice and tactile, and so it allows you to get a grip. And then when you need a little sensory thing, like you either click the pin lids, or, you know, if you're the kind of person that's waving the scissors in the air, you know, doing this just to get, you know, some sensory things happening, this is a really nice activity. And which is really nice because when you're doing something like seam ripping things, sometimes that's kind of a frustrating process. So having a little sensory input for yourself, or, you know, just feeling the ridges, actually helps the process not be so awful. It's really not awful. I actually really enjoy the process of seam ripping because it is a little sensory thing in itself, just popping the stitches, pop, pop, pop. I think that's kind of fun. I don't like picking out the threads, but I do like ripping the seams, strangely. Anyway, this one is super cool, and you can see like the natural grain of the wood, so you get a lot of coolness here. And it's really just kind of fun because they come in like the blanks that he bought are just pieces of raw wood, and they're the square shape, you know, all the way down. This is a part that was cut off from the last one, but and what he does is he drills a hole through it so it fits the kit, if he's doing this kit. But we were trying to think of a way to use something that we all have, and we all have these little seam rippers, the little ones that either come with a sewing machine or you get them in goodie bags, and they're good seam rippers. They're not super sharp, so they're not, well, they are super sharp when you get them, but they do wear, and so these are replaceable. To replace one of these seam rippers, it's a little bit more expensive because this is a high quality precision tool. This is something, they're like a dime a dozen. I mean, they're not a dime a dozen, but so that's in there pretty good. And so it doesn't have, he doesn't have to put the brass barrel or the spring in there. And so you can just take your little seam rippers, and y'all, I know you're like me and you've got 20 of these in a drawer because you get them in like a goodie bag or things like that, or they come in, you know, they're like the little freebie things. You can get a pack of these on Amazon, like 20 of them for like 10 bucks. So if you get them from overseas, they're even, I don't know what tariffs do, but anyway, this is the one, and it just holds in there. So this is hard to use because it's so little, and I don't have gigantic hands, but my hands aren't super tiny either. And so this like hurts. I'm at the point of life where like things hurt to use if it's not a quality tool. So even when you put the lid on it, so you have a little bit something more to grab onto, it's not ergonomic is what I'm trying to say. So Paul did this one so that you can put this little seam ripper in here, just straight in here. And he marked the center. That's what these markings are. So maybe we need to polish that out a little bit. But you put your cheapy seam ripper in here, okay? And then, let's see, I put the lid on too tight. I did that earlier. And then when you're seam ripping, you have a big handle to hold on to. And so this is much more ergonomic. The other thing that's cool about this one is that it also has flat edges so that it doesn't roll. So the problem with the ones that roll, that are completely round all the way around, this one rolled off my desk, and that's how I broke the thing. And if it had rolled onto the carpet, it didn't, but I have tile over cement in the places where I don't have a rug in my sewing room, so any other place it would have been fine, but it hit the cement, that metal thing hit the cement, and it broke clean off. So that was kind of sad. So we were just working on different ways to prevent that rolling from happening, which is why I grabbed that doodad to stick these into so they don't roll all the way. But I love this one. I really love this, and it's finished with a different kind of finish. So the wood is this color, and the pieces of wood that he got weren't labeled or anything, but we're pretty sure this is like a mahogany. And so after he got it all turned and round, then he worked these flat surfaces into it. So they're not super flat, so it still feels good in your hand. It still feels round. It still has the ridges, which you can, you know, do that with if you want to, or it just gives a little bit of extra grip. And then it feels good in your hand. It's kind of like the difference if you were a teacher and you used chalk on a chalkboard, and like holding a little piece of chalk was just kind of awkward, and then they developed those chalk holder tools that were so cool, and oh my gosh, I always felt so fancy when I got to use a chalk and a chalk holder. This is the same concept. So you can put the little cheapo seam ripper in here with the lid on it even, and it's not going to roll off. And I'm thinking of a way to kind of put a tassel or something in the end. So this is the part that Paul cut off of this. Like when you make it, the pieces of wood are a little bit like this. And these are just the pieces of wood that he got when he bought the lathe just to play with the whole thing. But Paul has an entire wood shop out there, so he could make these pieces of wood out of chunks of trees or whatever. But this is just practice stuff. But anyway, I am going to play with this because I want to see how we can get a tassel or something pretty, a little dangly on the end of that, because I think that would be super cool. The other thing I thought would be cool is if these all come off like this. Like, what if we cut this off, and I'll have to make some markings on here, but we cut this off so that this was the size, actually it needs to be a little bit wider, like this was the size of a dice, and then it would be so cool, like for those days when you're stuck in your sewing room and you don't know what to do, but you need to make something and you're just like, I don't know what to make. Because this happens to me all the time. I come in here and then I'm overwhelmed by ideas. So many ideas. So much that we could do. And it would be fun to make this as a little game. Like this is like a magic 8-ball. So it decides for you what you're going to make. And so, you know, you could roll the dice and like if whatever number comes up, you have a list of the projects that you have either that are like unfinished projects or start a new project. This kind of gives you the permission and it takes some of the brain work out, because the brain work can be overwhelming when you're in the sewing room and you need a project, you need something to do and you just don't know what. So anyway, I love this little chunk that came off. Not that this is not the point. This is the point. And anyway, Paul's out there. He's just playing with it today to see what he can come up with. And so let me know what y'all think, because I'm super excited about this, because I feel like this solves a problem. I have lots of seam rippers, lots. And, you know, they all do different things and they all have a different purpose. We kind of like to build a better mousetrap around here. And so I'm excited to see what happens and how these continue to evolve and take shape. But I'm really excited about this one because I think like these with that we'll put the kit ones in, the seam ripper, either the 2 sizes of seam ripper or the seam ripper in stiletto. Like these are going to be quite a bit more expensive because just the parts are expensive. This one, it doesn't really have any parts. It's the seam ripper holder that you can use with all of the seam rippers that you have in your drawer, and if you want to replace it, and it's also not as heavy. So this is a heavy implement, and sometimes we don't have the strength or the hand power or whatever to hold something heavy like this for a long time, like when we're seam ripping things out of a quilt. But this is quite light because it doesn't have that metal barrel that goes all the way through, and the fittings and the things. This seam ripper part is a lot lighter because it's plastic, but also because it fits right in there, easy peasy. And then when you're done with this one, you throw it away and put a new one in. So I think that's super cool. I'm really excited about this. And so we've got some more shaping to do, finishing things, but this feels really good. And also, I was thinking, since this is mahogany, we think it's mahogany. It's not cherry, because cherry's a little bit purpler. But wouldn't it be cool to, like, you know, when you've got a special piece of furniture that's just dead and you got to get rid of it because it's time, but then you, like it was, not that we have a whole lot of this, but we have some furniture that is just, it's at the end of its life, and so you hate to throw it away. And there could be some things that you can make out of it, and maybe you make a seam ripper out of that old chair leg or whatever that fell apart, and you don't need the whole chair, and you've been keeping it around because it has sentimental meaning, or the box or whatever, and then we could just make a seam ripper out of it. Cool. No, you know, so many ideas. Let me know what you think and what you might, an idea you might throw at Mr. Baby Moon while he's playing in the garage. So super fun stuff. I'll show you a little bit of the process that he did. He was talking about it, so I'll show you that in a minute too. All right, thanks for watching. All right, so tell me what you did here.
I just took a pen blank, and then this is one of those cheap seam rippers.
Yeah.
That you get from.
They come with your sewing machine, or they,
No.
or you get them in a goodie bag or stuff like that.
But they're small. If I can get it out.
Yeah, and they're awkward to use because they're so little.
Hold.
Right, they're hard to hold.
So if you have a handle, you can put it in. Plus, you can replace that.
Yeah. And you got a lid for it.
Yep.
And so it just fits in there. And then look at those little ridges. What are those ridges for?
So the thumb doesn't slip.
Oh, grips.
Sure. Trying to use it.
Grips. And you've got some flat parts on there because that way it doesn't roll off.
Yeah.
That is really cool. Cool.